The Chicago Bulls did absolutely nothing on the trade deadline. After trading James Johnson and what seemed like a move to set up another move by clearing him off the book, getting another first round draft pick, the Bulls did nothing. None of their targets got traded, though, either. Anthony Parker still with the Cavs. OJ Mayo, after a deal fell through to send him to the Pacers, is still going to be playing in Memphis. Courtney Lee is still a Houston Rocket. Any other name you heard is still there. Um, the OJ Mayo deal, when I heard it was going through, it would have been OJ Mayo going to the Pacers for Josh McRoberts and a first round pick. That really pissed me off that the Bulls would have let something like that happen because Taj is a way better player than OJ Mayo. I don't think I would have given up Omier for Courtney Lee, but I definitely would have given him up to get OJ Mayo. But they didn't go through. That's fine. Other big news is that Rip Hamilton did not get traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. That was being talked about. The Cavs are actually going to trade for him for the only reason to buy him out and get him off the books. Detroit has no interest in buying him out. Therefore, Rip Hamilton, who would have been the nicest shooting guard for the Bulls to get, is not going to be available because they couldn't afford him at the trade deadline. He's not going to be a free agent. So it's a little disappointing. The Bulls didn't do anything coming off a bad loss to the Raptors last night, the big game against the Heat tonight. I was hoping they were going to work something out. Now they hold 2 first-round picks, going to be somewhere in the 20s, their own in the Miami Heats. They might even be in the late 20s because I don't like what Boston did at all. Boston traded Nate Robinson and Kendrick Perkins for Jeff Green and Chris Christick, the guy who used to play for the Nets. That was the one thing that the Celtics had on everyone else in the East. They had an answer for Dwight Howard. They had this big body in the middle to kind of take care of everyone. And now they don't have that. They're going to be relying on Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal to be healthy, Jermaine O'Neal to be healthy, to man their middle. Maybe they're not afraid of Dwight Howard. Maybe they're worried about trying to get more athletic, trying to get faster, younger, to compete with the Heat and the Bulls. Maybe they are viewing the Magic as an absolute afterthought. I don't know. I really don't know what they're thinking. The most interesting thing to me about that trade is Jeff Green was the 5th overall pick, originally belonged to the Boston Celtics. He was traded to Seattle, the Supersonics, that became the Oklahoma City Thunder, in the trade that allowed Ray Allen to go. So basically, the Celtics almost have recouped everything from that trade. They got Jeff Green and they got Ray Allen. Another interesting trade was former Bull Kurt Heinrich leaving the Wizards and going to the Atlanta Hawks, which I'm thrilled for him. I'm very happy Kurt Heinrich got to finally go to a team that's going to allow him to be a starter. He's going to get to start along Joe Johnson, who I always thought would be great here in Chicago, playing alongside him. Both of them can handle the ball. Both of them can play off the ball. Good for him. I guess that's about it. There are a lot of moves, a lot of activity. Baron Davis getting traded this morning to the Cavaliers. I think that's going to be a train wreck. Him and Byron Scott did not get along when they were with the Hornets in New Orleans. So that's going to be an absolute disaster now on an awful team. Darren Williams obviously got traded to the Nets. The whole Melo deal. A lot of power has shifted to the Eastern Conference. A lot of teams, maybe not in play this year. The Knicks aren't going to be real contenders. I think they're going to be a bad matchup for the Bulls. Still, because, the Bulls couldn't match up well against the Knicks even when they had all the young guys. Now that they have 2 accomplished scorers and still pieces in that offense, it's just a bad matchup for the Bulls. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens the rest of the way. I'm not surprised the Bulls didn't make a move, but I am a little bit more disappointed. I was fine with it till I found out that OJ Mayo might have gotten traded, because that actually really worried me, the idea of what the Pacers are trying to build down there. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Bulls stand pat. I know a lot of people are upset about it. Everyone feels they should have given up Omier. I kind of tend to agree with you now. Hindsight's 2020. Looking at what the Celtics did, you might not need these big bodies, Kurt Thomas and Noah might have been fine. The most interesting rumor I heard was actually Omir and Bogans to the Rockets for Courtney Lee and Brad Miller. I would have loved that trade if Brad Miller was making about $2 million less a year. He's making $5 million for the next 2 years after this season. That's just too much money to pay Brad Miller. That's why he's in Houston, not in Chicago. It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be an interesting Bulls Heat game with the Celtics in perceived taking a step back. Sure looks like the Eastern Conference is going to belong to the Bulls or the Heat.